Quest 64. This is widely seen as an awful game. I've always had fun with it. I have fond memories of playing it when I was 13. I enjoyed the variety of enemies, the different kinds of magic you could wield, and the sense of adventure from wandering around a vast expansive world. Similar qualities you'd expect out of any other RPG. But that's not the popular opinion, is it?
Garbage, LOL. I hated that game. So boring. It was pretty bad. The best part of that game was seeing the end come up on the screen. 16-year-old me is still upset that we got this instead of Final Fantasy VII or the like. This game is shit covered raisins.
Pretty brutal. Now, I've been known to enjoy games that are seen as less than stellar titles, but what exactly is it about Quest 64 that people love to hate? Let's take a closer look and find out. Starting at, well, the beginning, your story begins in Keltland's Melroad Monastery, holding place for the ancient and powerful Eletail Book. When the book comes up missing, a spell falls over the land that stands to destroy the peace-preserving treaty held by the three main kingdoms. You play as Brian, a young apprentice wizard. Something Quailhair! Your father set out to investigate the Eletail Book's mysterious disappearance and has not been seen for a month. Despite the Grand Abbot's warnings of the potential dangers that lie ahead, you decide to embark on a journey to find out what happened to dear old Dad. As you wander around the monastery and the starting town of Kenishire, it doesn't take long to discover one of Quest 64's glaring issues: the camera. It seems that more often than not, the camera gravitates towards the worst possible angles. You can use the B button to swing the view around when you need to, which in tighter areas like some caves and dungeons will become essential. A lot of times I found myself holding the B button indefinitely, which really helps in the above said tight corridors. The B button won't always help though, and you'll constantly be fighting with the camera throughout the entirety of the game. In Kenishire, you get a feel for navigating towns and doors. So exciting. You also meet Shannon, a fellow traveler who seems to be on the same path as you and can be found in every inn you'll visit. Not much to do here, time to head south to Dondoran. To get there, as you might have assumed, you need to cross a good bit of the overworld area, and this is where you get your first taste of combat. Like most RPGs, battles are random. You'll be walking along and BAM! Monsters! This is one of the areas where Quest 64 varies from other games in the genre. The battlefield is drawn in a large vector shape. Within that, you have a smaller area that dictates your range of movement for your turn. This allows you to position yourself for the attack of your choice. Similarly, this system can be used to run away from battles with ease. Simply navigate outside the defined battlefield and you can escape. I really like this system because you don't have to worry about a failed run attempt that would otherwise save your life. Naturally, this rule doesn't apply to bosses since you can't run from them. You and the enemy party take turns performing actions until one of you ends up being victorious. Thankfully, this is a one-to-one relationship. For example, even though there are 3 enemies here, I get to have a turn in between each enemy's turn, rather than having to wait for all of them to go. Your attack options are limited to smacking the enemy with your staff and using magic. I really like the magic system. You have your 4 primary elements, fire, wind, water, and earth, each of which is assigned to one of the C buttons. You can gain points from battling and choose which element to put them into. The more points you put into a specific element, the more spells you'll learn for that element. You can also find these spirits scattered throughout the world that will give you an extra point as well. I really like this magic customizing aspect, and it works really well. On paper. This is another big point that people like to complain about. Sure, you do have this ability to customize your spells on your character and, kind of play how you want to play. But what the game doesn't tell you is that you're pretty much forced to use certain ones. Having a higher skill in water magic is absolutely necessary because it's the only element that has a healing spell. Right out the gate, you'll want to get your water skill up to 25, which will give you the healing level 2 spell. So for the first part of the game, you're pretty much just smacking and splashing. Factor in that each element maxes out at 50, and you'd be hard-pressed to max them all out, if it's even possible to begin with. This severely limits the ability to customize how you want your character to be. This is a good example of something that could have had much more thought put into it. Why can't you have a secondary healing ability to recover a certain percentage of your HP so you're not locked into the only element that has a heal spell? I feel like that alone would have made this game have a far better reception overall. You may have also noticed that Brian doesn't really have a specified level. All your stats are proficiency based. For example, smacking baddies with your stick and taking damage raises your HP and defense. Running around raises your agility and casting spells raises your MP. Some people complain that this makes you work twice as hard to level up evenly. I disagree. I feel like this is a really fun way to level up. And even though it's a minute amount of health that you gain over what seems like forever, when you really start seeing a difference, it feels earned, and the time you spent getting smacked around by your enemies becomes worthwhile. Okay, back to the story. The first stop on your journey is the Kingdom of Dondoran to the south. The king tells you that the Earth Orb was stolen by a thief with powerful black magic, and that in order to progress, he would need to be defeated. This gives you your next direct point of interest. Take out the thief and retrieve the orb. Into the forest you go and give him a good old-fashioned beatdown. The king marvels at your accomplishment and entrusts you with the orb for safekeeping. Thanks, I guess. Alright, so back through the forest and on to the next area. Hey, a boat! Let's check that out. Boarding the boat takes you to the west. When you get there, the wind stops and the water starts to flow in the wrong direction. Looks like someone's gonna have to sort this out. First stop, water town of Larapool, where there's not really much going on. Shannon meets you in the inn as usual and says that one of these towns may hold answers for you. Thanks, that's helpful. Layla, the sorceress and protector of the town, tells you to look to Normoon to investigate the wind stopping. Alright, so southward and through the mountains we go. This is where you encounter another not-so-great part of the game. The cavern and cave-style areas, basically anything other than the open map or towns, go on for way longer than they should. We're talking like an hour or more to get through some of them. It's not even that there's a ton of interesting stuff to be had, they just go on and on. I'm not sure if this is to pad the game to make it seem longer than it is. The game is only like 13 hours long, by the way. Or if it's a way to force you to fight enough enemies to ensure that you're a proper level for the next leg of the journey. Anyway, after you trudge through the mountains, you arrive at Normoon and come to find out that, shocker, the wind jade that controls the balance of the wind was stolen. The thief is in the forest, you take him down to get the wind jade back. Back to Larapool we go. Layla, thankful that the wind is once again blowing, sends you to the Crystal Valley where you'll find Epona, a wise sage. But of course, to get to the Crystal Valley, you need to travel through this ridiculously long blue cave. Remember what I said about senselessly long cavern areas? Epona will tell you more about the Elatael book and that it must never be opened because it very well may lead to the destruction of the world. She opens a portal to the Isle of Sky, that's Sky with an E, where you are to inquire about borrowing the water jewel. Once you get there, you find out that, OMG, it's done been stolen. Luckily, you don't have a long trek in front of you to retrieve this one. Walking up the hill to this rock formation transports you under the lake, where you'll smack this merlady around until she gives up the jewel. Now with the water flowing as it should, you can take the boat to the wealthy city of Limelin, where a prisoner has escaped from his jail cell and ran off with the fire ruby. Don't lie, you did not see that one coming. Go through the fiery cave to the south, take out the fugitive, and get the ruby back. On the other side of the cave lies Brannet Castle. A strange woman and a wicked spirit were said to have visited the king not long ago, completely changing him from the peace-loving ruler he once was. Now the kingdom is on the brink of waging war against the other kingdoms in Keltland. Now, as you progress through the game, you get more and more information about an evil being named Mammon, who nearly destroyed the world at one point and was eventually imprisoned by a powerful magician. It's said that the key to releasing Mammon lies within the Elatael book, which is why everyone was so worried when it came up missing. After confronting the king and kicking his regal ass, you find your dad, and Shannon? You find out that Shannon is a soulless puppet created by Mammon for the purpose of luring Brian to the castle. The only way for Mammon to escape his prison is for a powerful magician to release him using the Elatael book aided by the 4 gems. Shannon tells you that there is no escape and the only way out is to confront Mammon. The world of Mammon is bizarre, to say the least. The background really gets me because one minute it'll be a dark and ominous backdrop, and the next it's this bubblegum background with lots of bright colors. The novelty wears off quickly though, as with most areas, it goes on longer than it needs to. When you get to the end, you find Shannon again, who complains about how she doesn't understand how people are so strong. Blah blah blah, human spirit, etc, etc. After listening to her whine, you face off against Mammon himself. He has a good laugh about how you freed him from his prison, and now he's gonna thank you by destroying you. Oh Mammon, you are too kind. Using the fantastic strategy of spirit armor and smacking him with your stick, Mammon is destroyed. Afterwards, Shannon has a brief dialogue about not understanding why she's still there and how she wants to live among the people to learn the meaning of humanity. And then there's a big old wall of text summarizing the storyline. That's it. Between the illusion of character customization, the horrid camera, and the WTF tacked on storyline that makes it feel like the writers just stopped trying towards the end, it's no wonder why people don't like this game. Maybe I'm somewhat blinded by nostalgia on this one, but I still enjoy Quest 64 despite its problems. I feel like with a few minor tweaks and some additional polish, this game could have been so much better, and maybe a little less deserving of the hate that it gets. I still enjoy Quest 64, and even though the ending sucks, you gotta remember, it's not about the destination, it's about the quest. Oh!